Hey everybody, this is Evan. Just wanted to let you know, this was a long fucking episode. So we decided to split it into two parts. I know what you're thinking. Why the fuck didn't you do that for that 3-hour WrestleMania one? Well, we didn't realize that 3 hours was too long. So, we learned the lesson. So here's part one of the two-part MCWA episode. I hope you enjoy it. Peace! Oh yeah, listen to Strife.
Age to understand their humor.
I hope you said age and not AIDS.
Both.
Well, now we're rolling.
Well, if I'm gonna die anyway, I'm gonna make terrible jokes.
On my way out.
You can suffer with me. How about that?
Welcome back, everybody, to the Offenders Podcast. I'm Evan. Sitting next to me is Shane, and who just left his chair to go over and get an ashtray is the one and only Christopher Higgins.
Hello.
How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing pretty good.
Man. So, got Marvin just walked in.
Hello, everyone.
Wrath of a Dying Breed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the shout out.
Of course. So we just wanted to get together and talk a little MCWA / MCW / GWC / whatever the fuck people want to call it.
What's going on?
I'm way behind. You're adding letters I don't know about.
Well, that's because you live
Y'all
in
are
a cave.
years behind. Y'all are years behind.
As we've mentioned, Shane legitimately lives in a cave, so it's okay for him to be behind on things. But I wanted to tell two funny stories before we get into MCWA. My bass player, Jacob, in my band, Another Day Above Ground, recently had a birthday. And for his birthday, normally we're going to go bowling or get some Indian food. He's like, I want to go to the strip club. So I was like, well, you don't got to pull my arm. So we went to the strip club to see a girl that he has an affinity for, and he had never seen without clothes. And happy birthday, there it is. Well, I decided to be nice and buy him a lap dance, as you do. Well, as soon as I paid for it, I walked back, and this other lady entertainer walks over to me, and she's like, I know you just paid for your friend's lap dance. Pause. I want to mention, what I'm about to tell you is the most romantic thing that any woman has said to me in almost a year now. So I just want to go ahead and say that. So I pay for the strip. I play for the lap dance, strip dance. They're all strip dances. I pay for the lap dance, and this other stripper walks over to me and goes, I know you just paid for your friend's lap dance, but would you let me fuck your face with my titties for $5? And I said, yes! I threw my finger in the air just like Antonio Inoki. Yes! Eat, sneeze, ah! And like everybody there laughed. And indeed she did. She did like this. It was almost like she knew martial arts because she clasped my head with her elbows and her hands and pulled them into her boobs and started walking backwards. And I immediately had an anime transformation. I was like, and I was just stumbling, and everybody was laughing at me, and I was laughing at me, and I couldn't think because it was just and it was just amazing. And I forgot, the best thing about going to a strip club is not necessarily seeing the strippers. It's seeing your friends' faces who are looking at the strippers. Because, boy, you make some dumb faces and noises, as I just mentioned myself.
That's why they call them boobs. That's what it turns people into. It's just like,
That's what it is.
That's
I've been wondering.
That's why they're called boobs.
Son of a bitch.
I performance judge strippers.
You do?
Yeah, I'll sit there and I actually will judge the stripper's performance.
You have a
That's what I did the time I went. I was like, she's a really good dancer.
Right? See, that's what I do. I sit there, and hopefully I'll have paper. If I don't, I'll use a napkin. And basically what I'll do is I'll just kind of write down what they need to stop doing
Oh, you critique them.
Yes, I'm
You're a
critiquer.
critiquer.
What they need to stop doing, like quit slapping your ass 15 times before you do something else. No one really cares. Get to it. Wrap your body around the pole. Go slowly down the pole and then slap your ass 15 times while you're going down the pole. See, do something other than just standing there slapping your ass. Like, no one cares about that. We're not 85.
I'm the world's worst critic, so I just enjoy anything as long as there's nakedness there. They could be flipping hamburgers naked. I'd be like, thank you so much. It's the best.
You know, I've said that some maybe needed some dance classes. Probably wouldn't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe take Zumba.
Find some rhythm.
Something with some rhythm.
Find some rhythm.
I've noticed a couple of them struggle with rhythm, but that's only because I am one with rhythm as a drummer. But
Right. And it makes it awkward.
Yeah. Well,
It's like,
for most
well-
people, I'm just like, that was a little weird, but there's tits.
No, that's true. Because everyone loves boobs. But,
Yes.
I mean, still, I critique. I'm like, well, if I'm going to be here and I can't give you $1,
At least give you some
I'll give you my 2
constructive
cents.
criticism.
I'll give you my 2 cents.
Oh,
some
but
advice for the future. It'll help you out.
So, just in case you
So
want
other
a
people
fiver,
will want to give you dollars.
if you want to get a fiver, here's what you do. You go up to somebody and say, hey, I'll put my tits in your face. And rub
That was an
them.
amazing sales pitch. Do you
See?
imagine how much women could sell if they just did that regularly?
She knew what she was
It's
doing.
like, I've got this car, but I tell you what I'm going to do.
I'm going to let you
Sold! And take my credit card.
Whee! I'm going to rub my boobs in your face. So, take my credit card.
It's just
30,000.
that simple.
Here we
well,
go.
for some people it's not, but for me it is. But please don't use that against me. Only use your boobs against me. Okay, so moving on to the next story. I got to actually witness karma in front of me.
I love those.
Within, I would say, seconds. Well, we'll say minutes. Don't want to exaggerate. So, I'm sitting at work. I work at a call center at my job. So, I'm calling this guy because his credit card's declined, and I'm asking him for the new credit card number. So, the girl who sits next to me, we always joke around. She's super nice. She's super religious. Real funny, super southern girl. But she always gives me shit when I'm on the phone. That's kind of her thing. So I'm talking, I'm like, we're going to need another credit card or some other form of... And as I'm talking, she walks up with a finger made of iron and death and hits me right in the ribs. So I'm like, we're going to need another credit card. Which, of course, makes her pop, and she's laughing her goddamn ass off over there. And, like, secretly, you know, whenever you're doing something important, somebody fucks with you, you get mad for, like, 2 seconds. You're like, motherfucker! But then you realize it's really stupid, and it's also funny, so you get over it immediately. So I was like, God damn it, she got me. But I made it all the way through the call, and then I got off the call. I was like, oh, Frankie, I can't believe you did that. I was on the phone. She's just like, I got you. I'm like, whatever. It's funny. Okay, it's funny. I got it. So... she gets a declined credit card, and she has to make an outbound phone call. So I was like, here's my chance. So I don't even have to do anything other than wait till she's introducing herself to the customer, because I know she's on the phone. And I turn my chair to her, and I do the samurai sword removal, but I just pull my finger out of the side, and she goes, and she turns her chair and backs into her cubicle wall and knocks every goddamn picture off of the wall onto her desk. So it's like, just fall everywhere. She's just like, hey, this is from and she has to put it on mute, and she's just like flipping out, and everybody, the whole floor turns around and looks at her. They're like, are you okay? She's just like, and then she realizes she's still on the phone, so she has to like turn on professional. So she's like, this is Frankie J. And I immediately run away because I'm like, and I just run away. And she makes it through the call like a professional, and I come back over there. I was like, Frankie, I just want to make fun of you, but the gods already did. And I got to sit here and watch. She's like, I'm not going to poke you in the side anymore.
You gave her the samurai death stare, the
I
killing
did.
intent. You didn't have to do anything.
Sucky! Killing good people.
As soon as the sword left its sheath, she defeated herself.
It was so great. Because she had the genuine look of fear as she turned and backed into the wall, and everything fell over. It was like a mirror, a couple of pictures of her friends in Las Vegas and all this other shit. Oh, it was amazing.
That was a representation, you see. So a mirror fell. That was a defeat of herself. Her friends and family all fell around her. You do not challenge the samurai.
My chi was at such
You
an
and your
excellent
loved
level.
ones will be threatened.
So it was nice to see that karma does happen sometimes instantaneously as opposed to over a number of years. And when you go, oh yeah, that you fucking asshole, gotcha. But enough about me. Let's talk about our guest, the one and only Christopher. Oh, wait, I gotta say one more thing. Since we're about to talk about MCWA and MCW, I have to come clean about something. We've had a guest on our podcast named Maestro Awesome McKickass, who you all know. He's done some commentary and stuff, and people, I'm gonna break kayfabe here. People always come up to me and they say, Evan, you look exactly like Maestro Awesome McKickass. You sound exactly like Maestro Awesome McKickass. Are you Maestro Awesome McKickass? And I'll say this. Today I'm gonna be clean with you guys. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I am GDD. I am the goddamn devil, which you may have seen from the previous MCWA episodes. And I completely ripped off Maestro Awesome McKickass's voice while I was GDD. But once again, I am not Maestro Awesome McKickass because he is way cooler than me and he's been to outer space, which I have not. That being said...
Besides, he has a mask.
He has a mask!
It's
Duh!
It's true.
Well, we've both been to Japan. That's a terrible point. Anyway, so Christopher Thomas Higgins,
Yes.
thank you for doing the Offenders with us.
Hey, no problem.
So let's go back to what was that, like 2004, 2003.
2003.
Take us back to those days. Tell us how it all started.
Early 20s. Moments of
The roaring
retardation.
20s.
The roaring 20s.
It was a time to be alive.
Well, bygone era. But no, it started with my ex-wife, her friend, and a mutual friend. And I can't really remember if it was, I think it was a Saturday. And we had gotten on the subject just in conversation about wrestling, and me and a common friend, Spence, talked, new wrestling. And so we did a makeshift little impromptu match in the living room. We had moved, we had moved everything around. And after it was over and having that much fun, and 4th of July was actually the next day, which was Sunday, we decided, since kind of like social media was fresh and kind of new, and we had gotten out and told people we're having a wrestling event.
On MySpace, right?
Yes, MySpace.
On MySpace.
MySpace.
It's like the dinosaur era of social media.
Yeah.
I think Tom's still a friend of somebody. But
Good old
Yeah.
Tom.
Tom's
Good
still a
old
friend.
Tom.
Good
I'm
old
sure
Tom.
he's set no matter what.
I think he is too. I think I might have seen him floating around Facebook. But so we had gotten the word out, and a good amount of people showed up for the first one. We went into dark because we were going to shoot off fireworks.
Yeah.
Downfall to that was not enough light.
I remember those.
So the end
some
of
of
the
the first
tape-
ones.
So the end of the tape was black.
Yeah.
But you heard everything.
This sounds really awesome.
Also, what is happening?
It's radio wrestling. It's the Roaring 20s.
So,
The Sons of Carl Gotch.
everyone pretty much had a really, really good time. So we decided to make it a once a month thing, and actually film it to entertain the friends for a LARP that was going on the next day.
Now, was this at Angel's house?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that was. Actually, we went back. Me and Ben actually Crash went back to that house while it was empty. Either last year or the year before.
Oh
And
shit.
we shot a promo there.
Oh, you did?
Because
Oh, that's great.
MGBYW's location was literally down the street and around the corner from that house.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
And so I found that very...
What's the location
Prolific.
of that original? It's off North Side,
it's
In
Virginia.
Warner-Robins.
It's off of Alberta.
Alberta.
Then you would turn on, I think, North Side. and then you would cut off onto a side street, which will lead to Virginia.
Yeah.
I can't really know. I don't really remember the detail. I know how to get there. It's just the street signs I can't.
Somewhere on Virginia.
Right, it's Virginia
I'm
Avenue.
the same way too. It's
It was
like, how do I
Virginia
get there?
Avenue.
I'm like, I know how to get there. I can't
there.
tell you.
Dude, for a shoot, I got fucking lost coming back over here because it had been so long.
Yeah.
I was
Well,
like, I turned the wrong way twice. Oh, son of a bitch.
so
Anyway,
close to your work too.
right? I know. I'm such an asshole. I should be here every day eating hamburgers.
But so we had we would do that for friends for the next day to see how well we could convince them. At least mine was. So I would have little spots and little places that had fake blood and syringe cases, so that if there was a match going on, I'd have the opponent of mine distract the camera so I could apply, so that when I got up and stumbled around, people thought I'd been busted open, which someone the next day had actually asked me, did I really bleed? And I said, no. But thank you for believing. It's like, so I kind of knew we were kind of onto something in a way. And it was weird because a lot of LARPers were actually doing it, which kind of...
Well, that covers the acting, I guess.
Right, exactly. That, having years of having to impromptu talk and act and be something that you're not helped, where it kind of made it in our own mind in 2003 that we were professional, which we were nowhere near.
The bumps, however, was not something they were natural at.
That is true.
Yeah, there were a few of those that made me run. One actually made me run back and forth behind the camera, try not to be heard laughing.
I want to guess, was it Ogre Queen?
Well, it actually involved him. It wasn't. He didn't receive anything. It was fuel
Yeah?
and the taco origami sandwich, as we named it.
Oh!
It was
I'm
a
crawling up
it was
inside
a-
myself.
All right, so Fuel was 14 or 15 years old, way young to be doing this, and voluntarily did this. Now that no one talked him into it, and we weren't feeding him anything that teenagers at that time wanted. So
Pizza rolls.
they had him in the house.
My pizza rolls? You talking about my pizza rolls?
Tino's!
So
Gino's pizza rolls.
Gino's!
So he went for Ox, as he went by the name at the time.
Oh, no.
Went for a power bomb, in which I don't see how you fucked that up, but Fuel didn't do something right, and it came up to the point of where when he landed, the tip of his toes touched the back of his head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a shoot. It was fucking disgusting.
It's just like blur. And so I was running behind the camera back and forth, covering my mouth because it just was ugly, and we caught it on camera.
Also, I'd like to say it's probably just as much Ox doing it wrong as
Almost
it was.
Oh yeah,
Because
certainly.
he did that so many times.
Oh yeah, He hurt so
Until
many
until
people.
finally,
He had heart.
It's jumping a little bit ahead, but I remember that one match over there where everybody who's ever been hurt by him got together and just beat his ass for
Oh,
real.
God, yeah.
In
That
the
was
match.
a shoot. That was a legitimate beatdown.
that was
not a work at all.
I was like, fuck you. I mean, it's like a Ryback situation. He had he had the heart for it because he tried and I saw him and I watched him. But we would hold practices at Central City Park, and we would try bumping on solid ground, not pussy pads.
Well, you are hardcore, you know.
We had no money for pussy pads, so it was Georgia clay dirt.
Yeah.
That's right.
And we would do bumps, and everyone was getting it except for him. And the only thing he was having a hard time with was not allowing the back of his head to repeatedly hit the ground,
That's very
which
important.
I think caused a lot of future events. And so, I had to make him just stop. Like I just had to make him stop and be like, all right, don't work on that anymore. Because I felt like if he kept going, he would not get up, and pool of blood would start to just soak into the earth and be like, well, what do we do here? How to explain this? Well, he was taking some bumps over and over. I told him to stop. He continued, and thus we're in the current situation now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but there was a lot of things he did that, I mean, he broke a ramp we freshly bought.
Oh,
He was a large
built.
fellow.
No, we built. We freshly built it. We felt it was really good wood, and we felt very proud. And he comes out, and this was during MCW days. He comes out, now known as Hammer,
Yes.
and does this jumping Goldberg Hershey Kiss floppy rendition, which breaks the ramp. Now it doesn't collapse where he falls, and you hear it.
Yeah, it just goes.
which is worse, really, because if
Yeah.
he at least would have fell, it would have been funny.
Yeah, right.
Little shot master.
So I'm going against him. It's me versus him, and I have already come out first, and I'm standing beside the shed that we were using, which was a decent sized shed for entranceways. And it had rained, I think, a couple of days before, which had leaves stuck to the chair. And I was waiting because that's how it's supposed to start. I hear that ramp crack and break internally, and my face goes from just normal to like hatred. All of my work, flames on the side of my face. So he comes around the corner, semi-expecting the chair, and here comes the chair. And as he hits the ground, the leaves go fluttering.
I remember that.
To
I'm
the
gonna put that
ground.
shit up somewhere.
It's fluttering to the ground, and we begin the onslaught. That was that match.
What a day.
We had so many actually bad days. Actually, we had a lot of bad days, and I knew once again we weren't. YouTube was like barely a shit thing. Actually, when we had
It started
stopped.
in 05.
Yeah, it's like it was barely a shit thing, and we didn't have the equipment to be able to actually put it online.
But now we can because I have them all. I have a good deal of them. Well, after this, we'll get them all together and put them up so
Sweet.
people can watch them.
Which Daniel would be the person to go to. He'll put it on the GWC,
Yeah,
and he'll even
good
throw
point.
it in on some videos too.
I got a couple of
As
DVDs.
flashbacks.
So I'll just give those to him.
I mean, there was one event that was really, really, really good visual effects wise.
Hold on just a second before we get too far forward. What caused us to change from MCWA to MCW? Oh, Shane.
It was me.
Please tell us why.
Every time I announced MCWA, I said, "What the hell are we associated with?" That's what the A was.
So
I
how-
said it every time until people were like, "We're going to drop." I'm like, "Don't do that. That's my joke."
You're killing my gimmick.
It's the name. See, in a way, he was right. Common sense, actually.
How did it
changed.
start MCWA?
It was the wrestling idea part, and was mine, and the nature of what the business is mine.
Okay.
The name was thought up by Jamie Moore.
Okay.
He just threw letters together, and
It does sound like a
Craig
wrestling,
Blitz.
Right.
a wrestling thing.
Craig
MCWA.
Blitz,
Craig
right.
Blitz,
Yeah.
And he basically unfortunately left due to creative differences. I felt like society wasn't ready in 03 for what he had in mind. And when we got over into 05 for a moment, and then really into 06, it's still, society was not ready for what he had in mind. He had a lot of anti-religious messages he wanted to pass, and I was all about it, but I felt like if we're going to have people watch this, they're not ready yet.
That's because that's super heat right
Right,
there.
that is-
Especially considering we're in the South.
And you're below the Bible Belt, and at the same time, you're asking for the entire roster to be viewed like this.
Yeah.
Right.
You're having no one actually be the pro-religion gimmick.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
Which is why it was great.
Yeah, so now you're basically having conspiracy theorists throw out there, be like, oh no, the Illuminati struck down to the lowest core. They've gotten the meth heads. So it was one of those things that it wasn't time for that, and he didn't like it, so he left, and I understood. But it's just, it was not ready, and it wasn't until I want to say it's about 2010, maybe 2009. I watched a video clip of a crowd of people you remember the time in which McDonald's was automatically hiring lots of people throughout the country. So McDonald's parking lots were filled with people trying to get a job.
Yeah.
Well, I watched a clip of a disgruntled man who was there to get a job like everybody else pop his car in reverse and run over a group of people.
Holy shit.
And
How did I miss that?
when I saw that, I knew right then and there, now society is ready for something that harsh.
They've embraced the devil.
Because
the evil.
Because if people are now showing this and people are having semi-cold reactions and there's not an uprising of shit that they would be throwing, then they're okay with mock commercials of Jesus Be Gone spray, or which was a commercial idea. It was a commercial idea. It was actually kind of like a peppered spray commercial for Jehovah's Witnesses and any other religious person who come up to you and try to preach the word to you like Bible thumpers and Jesus be gone.
I don't even know if like regular Christians would be bothered. As long as they're not Jehovah's Witnesses, they're probably like, I hate those people. Coming bothering me.
It'd be the same thing too. Mormons come up to the door. Jehovah's Witnesses come to the door.
They're really nice though. The Mormons are really nice.
Yeah.
I do have a story here. Let me break in because I usually do not have stories.
Please do.
So there was this time that I worked for this apartment complex, me and Frank together, and we'd go into the apartments and we would fix stuff in there. We had to get them ready when people were moving in. So the Mormon church was paying for these two Mormons to live in this area. And the reason they do this is they'll get on their bicycles and they'll like canvass an area. So they'll just buy them an apartment in an area that they want, and then they use that as their home base and just go around on their bicycles, right? So we go in this apartment and set it to do something. They had just moved in. It's been like 3 days. So we walk into this apartment and we go to this back room back there. It's just they're just using it for like Mormon Command Central. Alright? So we walk back there and I look and there's this giant whiteboard that's taking up the entire wall. And it's got locations in Macon on it that they need to go to. And it just has this giant list of things you think like you were seeing like something from Helsing.
Yeah.
Or it's like the Grand Bishop so-and-so, the blah, 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 blah. I just look at that board, I'm like, what the fuck are these guys doing, Frank? Are they trying to take over the fucking city? I mean, that's what it looked like. That's my Mormon story, though. Giant whiteboard with all these fucking crazy stuff. The Grand Bishop so-and-so, Archbishop blah, 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 blah. These fucking Mormons, man, what are they up to?
I can see a picture of Jesus in the corner looking over. Hail Mormon. It's all been a lie.
Isn't he from like Michigan or something in Mormonism? I don't remember.
Space.
Is it?
Yeah.
Space.
Okay.
Joseph. Speaking of which, I'm sorry, I gotta break in with a story. With a character that we'll get to in a bit, one of the managers, Sam Hain, aka Stick, was my roommate for a while. Well, we were living in a really nice neighborhood because we had a bunch of roommates and we all together could afford the super nice house. Well, I was living there with my girlfriend at that time, thankfully now my ex-girlfriend, who was kind of like an internet, like, star, so people would send her shit and they would buy her shoes and all this weird shit. Well, somebody sent her a giant dildo. Like a big rubber dick. The kind with the suction cup.
I remember because it stayed stuck on the side of the door frame.
Smash the suction cup like on the wall and go, and there'd be a big floppy dick. It was like 11, 12 inches. And we'd leave it on the door as like a door knocker and unintended. But like, so anyway, Stick would be at home all the time, which we'll get into why a little bit later. He was just always on the couch. Well, since we lived in a nice area, Mormons came by, and Stick, like us, is a bit of an imp. We have a love for the mischief. Well, what he did was he said, the first time they came over, he was like, well, I'm not exactly ready for a conversation like this, so if you could come back tomorrow at the same time, I'll let you in and we can do this. And they were like, we got one, yay! So they come back the next day. But what they don't realize is they're walking into a house with a giant dick stuck to the table where they're going to be talking about God. So he invites them in and sits at the table, and these two young Mormon fellows tell him the whole story, the gold plates, the fucking trip to the Aztecs, everything for Joseph Smith while staring in their face a giant dick, and Stick is just sitting there like, is that so? Is that right? That's where he came from? Just totally buying it, and they're just like, yeah, we're getting through to him. And but they're no selling this giant dick right in front of them.
That's professionalism right there.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of the classes. Maybe it's part of the training. It's like, boom! They just stick it on the table. What is this for? This might come up. All right? This might come up.
If only we had had the forethought to set up a video camera or something. But for the whole time, Stick's just sitting there with that giant dick on the table and these two Mormons just telling him all about fucking Joseph Smith. I think that's his name, isn't it?
Yeah, I
Joseph
think
Smith.
so.
And the fucking magical alien afterworld.
And magic underwear.
So anyway, back to MCW. We changed MCWA to MCW because
He left, and I felt like, well, common sense wise, we're not really associated with anything because we couldn't find any other feds in Georgia at the time, which so funny because Daniel and AWS I think was going on at the same time we were.
Daniel Nelson,
right,
aka the California Kid.
Yeah, they were going on at the exact same time we were. It's just we had no way of actually contacting and bridging the communication.
Yeah,
or we'd have probably upgraded so much quicker than actually what happened.
Because that was back. They went on their side. They were wrestling on trampolines, right?
Yeah, they were about 5 to 10 minutes away from the Virginia Avenue house.
No kidding.
Wow.
Because they were in Warner Robins too.
It was our chi that had just extended.
I looked at it as whatever controls everything in life just said it wasn't ready yet.
Yeah.
It wasn't time. And when I look back, there's no hard feelings about it. I laugh because it's so funny because it wasn't until 2010 did I run into Daniel Con Nelson working together at Fox 24. And that's when me and Stick, and he was working there at the time too, realized who he was and time to kind of jump the ship.
Was he Moonstar?
No, he was not.
Did we ever find out who the fuck that was?
I have my theory, and I'm pretty close.
You're still
to what my
still
theory
writing
is.
down the notes.
It is going
He had
to be
My
a
Little Pony poster in his room.
It is going to be. It will be somewhat unsolved until the person actually comes out and says who they were. But I have a feeling I do know. I'm feeling it was a collaboration of probably 3 people, maybe.
The Moonstar Coalition.
At most 3 people, and this is all speculation, so there is no
purely speculation.
There's no facts to support, and this would be considered a conspiracy theory. But I believe that it was Oddball's ex-wife and her new husband, and they used information probably given by my ex-wife. Because they basically crossed the line.
Pause for a second. Let me just tell everybody what this is. So we have been doing this wrestling thing for a while, and we would post out videos every now and then. Well, somebody under the name Moonstar posts this really weird video, and it's like under purple light, and they have like this cat wrestling, like El Gato or something, some cat like Mexican wrestling match.
Gato.
El Gato. And he has like a voice changer, like where. Like he's some fucking Mexican drug cartel guy who's on Unsolved Mysteries, and he doesn't want to give his actual voice away. And he's just talking shit about everybody. He's leaving little comments on the videos and whatnot. So, at first, we think it's hilarious. But then we're like, okay, it's wrestling. You shoot on each other. You work the promos. We'll do it. So, I think after we discussed it for a while, it was Gino who did the report, wasn't it?
It was
Gino Valentino. And through Maestro Awesome McKickass's YouTube channel, he decided to retort. And we're going to post all this up on the Offenders Facebook so you guys can see it. So he goes back and he's talking shit, and it was hilarious. But long story short, I guess we found out who it wasn't. It wasn't Daniel. No. But Daniel, back to the original point, Daniel and their whole crew were just down the street from us when we were starting.
Right. They were just down the street, and Life at that time said, no, you guys aren't ready. And it was probably on our part, because they were a little bit way more professional than we were. And yes, I said a little bit way more professional.
A little bit way more.
A little bit way more.
You're trying to be humble at the same time.
Right. I'm trying to be truthful, but humble. Give some credit to us.
So let me ask. Okay, so when we started out, I'm gonna try and go through the names of everybody that was on it. We had Angel.
He came in later.
He came in. Who was the start out? It was just
Spence.
What was his
Toxin.
name? Toxin. Okay.
Toxin.
And there was Kitty.
There's Killer Kitty.
Killer Kitty. There was.
We'll get to him. He might be last.
Okay.
There was the Animal.
The Animal.
Who was terrible Tommy Two-Face to
That's the
Thunder?
one I was That was the one I was waiting for.
Terrible Tommy Two-Face the Turtle. Tucker, that's it.
Tucker went by the gimmick, and here's the thing. If you want to be belittled, berated, cut down, joked, and pretty much made fun of your gimmick through that, in the entire match you have, please name yourself Terminator. Just do it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Terminator.
Just do that. Just do that. If you do that, you will be just ruined forever. Which, and that was actually the start of my philosophy. Basically, what happens?
You might as well call yourself Superman.
Right. When someone comes in new, even to this day, when someone comes in new and they tell me their gimmick name, and it is a one-word cliche piece of shit,
The Killer.
I say nothing. And the reason I say nothing is because, well, at the time, I had commentators who would say everything I'm thinking.
High five.
And not give two shits about what you thought. Your job was to not laugh during your own damn match.
That was the best one. We could pop them when they were right in the middle of the match. And we see, yes, we got him.
I remember that became a thing. Remember
Yes,
the time at The Rock? Where it's like, all right, we need to warn you guys.
Yeah, because there were other wrestlers there.
Yeah, they didn't know. Yeah, they didn't know. This is what these guys are going to do.
So,
Okay, so Tucker.
it was the Terminator as you went by. Then you had the Animal.
Who was Animal?
Greg.
Okay,
Greg the Animal Wolf or something like that.
We had a lot of wolves, didn't we?
Well, at least two.
Yeah.
They were a split pack.
Yeah. Lone wolves.
Then there was Fuel, Sebastian Shaw, Johnny Honesty.
Crash Man.
Actually, Sebastian Shaw. I think he went to he turned from Ronnie Honesty to Sebastian Shaw because it was Johnny and Ronnie Honesty.
God,
and then your ex-girlfriend was Bonnie Honesty.
The ex-girlfriend before the previous ex-girlfriend that I just mentioned was Bonnie Honesty. And then Mondo
was Johnny Honesty.
Johnny Honesty. Mondo.
If you didn't know, just ask him.
Yeah.
His shit and homosexualness. That shit.
Homosexualness.
That shit doesn't leave.
When the brain just stops for a minute. It's like, and for all you homosexuals. And all of us were just like, we tried to hold it back so he could finish his promo.
It was great. Once Mondo starts talking, woo!
It's always.
I know.
Mondo of
Brett
Kate
Michaels. I know Brett Michaels.
Mondo from the previous couple of episodes. But goddamn, that was the Honesty
Moses
family.
3000. Yeah,
Moses 3000.
That was the Honesty. Steve Awesome.
Steve Awesome.
Moses 3000.
Private Snowball.
Private Snowball came in late 05, early 06.
With Sergeant Murphy.
He came in that time too. We're naming off all the people from 03, 04-ish because we stopped in November. I want to say
because there was something with the house and we moved somewhere else.
Snowball was there.
I got my ex-wife out of the house of where Angel was living due to young 20s thought processes, and I feel like maybe slight manipulation, but as a man with a penis, it's part of life.
We never know which head we're thinking with.
At that point, you never really know. And once thin as shit and kind of hot, you're just like, you know what? Sure, let's get you out of here. It was about November we had stopped because holidays actually came up, and everyone agreed to take a break for the holiday. And the problem is that it wasn't about the summer. About a year and a half later, then we all decided, hey, let's do it again.
Yeah, of course.
That's when we dropped the A.
It just became MCW.
Which
now we've learned that there are 17 other MCWs.
Right, so going back to the A was smart.
Yeah.
Because You have Maryland Championship Wrestling. You have
Midget Championship Wrestling.
Mayhem, I think it's called Championship Wrestling.
That's the big one, I think.
I really wanted to kind of visit there as part of the show because their crowd was our crowd. I was like, you have everything. You like have her name and you have her crowd. What the fuck?
That was the God showing us, go up there and conquer them.
But basically, make
we were like,
contact.
not yet.
Make
We just want to
contact.
sit at home.
Exactly, that's how it was. And 05 came, and we moved to Avenue of Pines in Macon for about 2 months.
Was that the lesbian house?
Yes.
That was the lesbian house.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That was under the bridge.
That's when we started. It was close to one of the bridges off of I-75.
Pierce and Riverside. You go under the bridge, and it's back there where the fucking water park place is
Yeah.
now.
Now, it's an easy road to find now compared to back then.
I have a story
Thank you,
about
Macon.
that place too, but I don't know if I should
That
say
that
it.
was actually
You should
when
definitely
we,
say it if you're wondering.
that was actually when we kicked it up a notch.
Mm.
That's when I knocked off teeth of a plastic rake on Steve Austin's back, and I went off of a rape van. I went off the top of a rape van in a frog splash. That's when we upped the ante when it came to our stunts previously. But we've always started from, every time we've started back again, we've always been ground up. Like literally, we just start from, it's just us on the ground, to having something worth the shit to show on camera. But it shows the people at home it's a progression.
That's where the learning bush was.
Yes.
And literally, we started on the ground. Then we got like carpet padding, and then we moved to mattresses. And now
the
we're-
padding we got in 03, that's a great story. So the Terminator was probably at the time in the Air Force, and I feel like I can say this now since it's about almost a decade or over a decade's passed, so he's probably not with them anymore. We snuck on the base and stole it from the Air Force base, and then we used duct tape to tape them together so they wouldn't slide apart. So if you were taking a move, you would be comfortable to know that there's something other than grass and dirt and rocks.
That carpet padding probably cost like $6,000.
Then we moved to pallets.
In that case, this is all a story of something that happened in MCW. MCWA.
MCW, we stepped it up and got wooden pallets with mattresses on top.
That's right. And tires.
And tires came.
That was like 06 or 07. That was way
That was
later.
back here.
Tires came here.
Okay, I'm shooting too far forward.
Yeah, that's for
Over.
we at Avenue Pines we had pallets and mattresses.
Yeah.
Then we moved the pallets and mattresses to Avalon in Jones County.
Before we do that, you had a story.
It's a very short story.
Yes.
And it's just me not paying attention.
Okay.
It's because I don't do that, Sunset. We went over to the lesbian house.
The lesbian
And there's
house,
the
yes.
part that I premised that again because I was sitting there and like the whole time, like, I don't remember her name, but I didn't know.
What was her name?
Which one?
Either of them.
Lisa and Courtney.
The one that had the fatigues.
That would have been Lisa.
That's it.
Lisa.
So the whole time we're doing this thing. So the whole time where we're the first time I'm there, I'm like, that guy looks just like a girl. I swear, through the whole thing. It's not until like the end when someone's like, yeah, this was nice at the lesbian house. I'm like, what? Wait. Oh,
My whole world!
Crumbled.
that's just my story.
I thought that was a really pretty man.
Oh, okay.
I thought that was just a real that story just reaffirmates it so many times in her youth when and I think at the time she had lost a lot of weight, but she was probably about 45, 50 pounds heavier before that time, and she would be confused for a male going into the women's bathroom constantly at the mall.
Man, well that sucks. That's not it.
I mean, it's like that. It's funny, but it's not surprising because she was already running into that.
Why didn't she ever team up with Chris Courageous?
Well, see, the problem, I had a really good idea for her to be involved so we can use the place, and it gave her something simple. She didn't have to get in there and do crazy ass stunts. She was accident prone and she would break herself constantly. So
We've had a lot of those.
I wanted to give her something that was simple and easy, and she had a horrible fear of public speaking. Horrible fear. I mean, I was in class with her at college. She just could not do it unless someone was like literally up there with her to make her somewhat comfortable. And it was the weather dike.
Oh yeah,
That was her
I
gimmick.
remember,
Was the
I
weather
remember
guy.
that being talked about.
And-
What a pun!
And exactly. And so basically it was GDD and Gino would toss it over to the weather dyke, and she would give the weather forecast of the day currently, so we know, so people at home kind of know what the condition is, whether it's cloudy, whether it's raining, whether it's whatever. But when she would get on camera, she'd be like,
He's just staring off.
Just can't do it.
"It's sunny,"
Yeah.
and just point
That's
out
enough.
and just
That
point
was
out-
it. I thought that
and
was hilarious.
And that's when it turned into that. It turned in. Oh, I'm sorry, Seth MacFarlane, but we were doing Ollie before Ollie was Ollie. And Ollie was cool.
Yeah.
Okay, and we had a lesbian who just looked at the. It's sunny,
I remember that because
And
I
I was-
thought it was hilarious.
and I was like,
I didn't
oh.
know it wasn't on purpose in the beginning.
That's
either.
why
I
it
was
was
like,
so good.
I was like, oh wait, that's pretty funny.
But that was that. But yeah, I mean, I think if she got over that fear, that would have been a really great persona to constantly have. It just cut in and do that.
Yeah.
Now she and her partner never actually got into it. It's just her that was on the camera.
Yeah. Courtney was pretty much the owner of the house. She was pretty much just a fan, and she would get her friends to come over, and that gave us, I guess, the real first taste, other than the kids, during the Avalon Street.
Oh yeah.
Gave us kind of a sense of an audience.
Now, I think this was when the Stromboli showed up, right?
Yeah, that's when Fuel and Chris Courageous decided they want. No. Yeah, well, yeah, Bobby.
You're mixing your gimmicks up.
Bobby the Noodle. It was Fuel. Fuel wanted to change to something new, and him and Kale, Chris Courageous now is known, were friends and have been friends for the longest time, and so they would have this inside joke of kind of like mobsters. And so he decided to change his, during the break, he decided to change and become Tony Pizzeria.
Mm-hmm.
And then his fat friend, because you have to understand, Fuel is skinny. So you
They
have
look like the number 10.
you have
They look like number 10.
They did. It was Abbott and Costello. And basically he was Bobby the Noodle Stromboli.
A great name.
Great.
Yes.
And he would talk like this, boss.
So he'd have the high-pitched voice with the big body. And that was actually a really, really great gimmick. It was definitely something that was entertaining every time they were on camera.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But the sad part about it, at that stage, we were in what I call fast-forward mode, where things were changing too quickly.
Yeah.
We didn't have enough time with Tony Pizzeria and Bobby the Noodle Stromboli and actually see them actually develop into something really, really great.
Right.
They prematurely cut it because David went back to Fuel, and Kale decided to become Chris Courageous.
A great character.
Which
That was a
which
great
was like
character, though.
actually probably
One of our first superstars.
yeah, it really kind of was. He commanded the camera, and I was still in that silent mode.
You still had your hair then.
Yes, yes. I started
Full
growing it out
disclosure,
during it.
Chris is not bald. He just cut his hair off so everybody else would have a fighting chance.
That's
Yes.
true. That's true.
That's
That's true.
like Samson from fucking Marvel Comics.
That's true. It's very true. But for the most part, I was talking. That was the best transition probably, because even David went kind of even more crazier because his hair got longer and wilder, and he became kind of like the human cat
Yeah.
because of his little rolling.
You know why? Because I figured if I can touch my ears with my back of my fucking foot, I can do anything.
And I can live
Yeah.
from that. Yeah, I can do that.
I'm surprised he's not a yoga instructor by now.
I know, right? Nope, he's in Savvy. So that was a little stint.
Oh, Savvy also has Sebastian Shaw in it.
Yes.
Sebastian Shaw and Fuel actually have a band, for those of you who listen. It's called Savvy. It's great, like prog rock stuff from the 70s. Bass and drums, that's it.
Check out the song 1945.
Yes. Oh.
There's a lot of connection between early MCWA, MCW-ish, and that correlation.
They wrote that song back in those days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a correlation there, and that's why I'm going to try to bring Savvy into, bring them back as cameos, as well as maybe write some theme songs for some of the wrestlers, perform at some of the live events.
That'd be great.
I want Sister Sandos to do a show. I want Dragon Sleeper at some point to do a show. I like to get all those out there and actually mix wrestling and rock and roll and fucking do it right. And not fuck it up and actually push local music to maybe even local bands of different states see this, get a hold of this. And not only does GWC actually grow, but so do all the bands. Because automatically, when they say, sure, we'll play a show, when it's recorded and it's published on YouTube, the subscribers to that channel is 7,200 something. Mm-hmm. That's a good amount of people all around the world who are seeing your shit. And some people might not like it, but there are some in parts of countries where they are watching us that they sure as hell will in a heartbeat and so get an online store. Basically.
So what are you saying, brothers? We're bringing back rock and wrestling from the 80s.
Yeah, but we're doing it right. Mm-hmm. Doing it how it should be done. I want to have, at house shows, at regular yard filmings that we do, the main show, I want to get bands to perform then too. Mm-hmm. So that they're always getting exposure.
Now, all of these bands that have been mentioned will be playing on July 2nd, I think is the date, and it's Wrath of a Dying Breed's premiere show at Grant's Lounge in Macon, Georgia. So if you hear this and you're in the area, fucking go to it.
Yes.
If you bring 2 canned goods, we're contributing to charity. 2 canned goods will get you into the show for free. So just buy some fucking peas or something. They're like 20 cents. Or you can pay the cover. It's great either way. Anyway, so we shot forward, way forward.
But around
Strombolis.
Yeah, the Strombolis came in just for a short time. I would say it was probably about 2 or 3 filmings.
Chris Courageous got born, superstar. Now,
yeah,
this was when we were transitioning to the next house.
Yeah, we transitioned to the next yard. We were like a moving circus.
This was John's house, right?
Yes, this is Big John's house.
Big John's house.
Big Bad John.
There's like only one really video clip of him. And
I think I have one of those at my house.
And the reason why nothing else has gotten put up from him is because he requested it. I don't know if it's because of embarrassment or what. I don't know. There's really nothing to be embarrassed about when you're having a good time with your friends and you know what you're doing is funny. There's literally nothing wrong with that and nothing to be embarrassed about ever.
Some people are afraid to look stupid. Not us.
Right, no. I mean, that's
because
the
it's
whole
not
point.
the end of the world and we know that.
Well, YouTube, that's the point of YouTube. You're there to entertain people.
Yeah.
And if that means you purposely act stupid to do so, then by God, if they're walking away laughing and they completely forgot their life problems just for that 15-minute clip, by God, we did our job.
You helped somebody. Well, by devil in this case.
Well, yeah, we helped them.
Old Jim Ross over there. By God!
By devil!
Oh my God!
By Beelzebub.
Beelzebub.
But
why didn't we ever have a character named Beelzebub? That would have been.
Oh my God! Well, Old Scratch.
Old Scratch. Yeah. Almost forgot to bring it.
Identical cousin.
So GDD
Beelzebub
and the Fight Professor, which was Shane's character, had some cousins who came from out of town.
Identical cousin.
Identical cousin. Well, almost. Old Scratch had a real nice cowboy hat.
It was strawy. Yeah.
It was a straw hat, which actually came from Chris Courageous.
He did sound off. Well, he kind of got close to Terry Funk sometimes.
He did. I'm sure they did some working back in the days. They ran the roads together.
They drank the same
Not the
liquors.
Dusty Roads, but that's a different story.
They probably ran that too.
And that's when we brought over Gino Valentino. Shane, if you would, tell us a little about Gino Valentino.
He's your typical. He's part of the New York club. So you don't get shot.
Yes.
The New York Clubhouse.
Yeah.
That you don't talk about ever.
Also known as the Chicago Club.
Oh. Yeah, it was... That's when you want to be... Everybody... See, here's the problem with the commentating. It's like... Occasionally people would want to do like you do in like actual wrestling where you'd have like Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler where they're on opposite sides. But half of the time, 97% of the time, we just agreed with each other. Yeah. So with Gino, it was trying to I'm just always going to try and just be like, kill him!
Yeah.
Use that bat.
That's not how you do it.
Yeah, he was Mr. International Object, Mr. Foreign Object.
Yes.
Hey, if it's in your hands, use it.
And that's the problem too, because like so many of the matches didn't have any rules. It's hard to be the bad guy.
None of the matches had
Right.
rules.
Yeah.
There was like one, I think.
Maybe.
You were just the more aggressive guy.
Right.
It's like the rule was: do you win by pinfall or submit? I mean, that's
Right.
what you got.
And
That's all you got.
Old Scratch's character was kind of he was my idea of the old Southern wrestler mixed with like the dummy, because there's some very smart old Southern wrestlers who have the accent that are absolute geniuses, but it's always funny to play to that character of the Southern dumbass.
Yes.
Because we are literally surrounded by them.
Yeah, on a constant basis.
Yeah, it's not a stereotype; it's life.
And I think-
It is fact.
And I think that's about the time where the term team offender actually started to kick
Exactly.
in, because we're just like, oh, fuck this, fuck you, society. We're gonna say what we feel.
Yeah.
And if you're stupid, we're gonna call you out on it. And it's
Yeah.
like you're
Well,
stupid.
for a while we were the Hate God Squad.
Yeah.
You forgot about that shit, didn't you?
Thank God,
We all went to this fucking Halloween store in the mall, and there are like these little like shitty rings that you could buy, and it had like the Death's head on it, but it didn't have any of the Nazi shit. We were like, oh cool, that's the Death's head. Fucking A. Hate God Squad has an insignia, so we all bought these rings. Who the fuck knows where they went to? But that was the birth of the Hate God. I forgot the fucking Swedish ship. That was the birth of the Hate God Squad. So the Hate
I
God
thought that
Squad
was the Swedish department.
Yeah, right? That's where all the metal is. So that happened, and we turned into the Offenders,
Yeah.
which, speaking to bring another correlation, back in 03, we were trying to be, so politically correct and nice.
Yeah, it's
And
kicked
then
off of all that.
we went overboard, and I'm not saying we caused it, but everybody turned into a pussy. And now they got offended by everything, which is how we got our name, The Offenders, for this very podcast. It was extended from our group of friends who were just always pissing people off by trying to show them not to take shit so fucking seriously all the time.
That's
Oh.
true.
Words are what you make of them.
So-
And everything deserves to be mocked because it's not that serious. Long story short, go ahead.
So where that name actually came from is this was way back in the days where me and Michael Strickland, let's see, Kyle,
Ryan Smith.
Chris,
Captain Angry
Lewis,
USA.
and Ryan, we'd go to like Comics Plus and we'd play HeroClix. And there's a team in HeroClix called the
The
Defenders.
Defenders. It's a comic book.
The Defenders is from the comic books.
Yeah.
And when we all got together, it became terrible. Because people from the other table over there just like playing something else like Magic or something like that, they would say something to try to be funny. And of course, one of us is going to respond, but when one responds, it becomes a chain reaction of death. And it's just like, and they'd be like, oh God. And I'd be like, and that's why we're the Offenders. And that's what would happen, and then every time the chain reaction would go off, and then usually Michael would end it with, Offenders Assemble. And that's where the name came from.
And all it took was somebody to be like, blood in the water! And then just...
Yeah, it just fucking
It was
sharks.
a verbal beatdown.
So,
Because that happened at the LARP, too, because we used to LARP back in the day.
oh, yeah.
And we would be sitting at a table, most of those, plus the other two of us here who weren't at the HeroClix thing.
Yeah.
Who got godfathered in, so to speak. And grandfathered in. And we would be sitting there, and somebody would make a bad joke, and we would all just kind of make that instantaneous, unspoken eye contact. And it's like, did they really just fucking try to say that? And we would just destroy them. Even to the point where Shane became violent. He took this dude's bag of bagels and smashed him in the face with it. He's like, shut up! That's not funny!
I didn't even say anything. I just hit him.
Because, like, it was an attempt at a dad joke, which is great, but he fucked it up. If you're gonna say a bad joke, say the bad joke as it is, which is great. But if you fuck up saying the bad joke, well, there's a small margin of error where you can fuck a joke up and make it even funnier than the joke. But that's rare. That's like a limit break in Final Fantasy.
Oh.
I didn't know I was going to do that either. It just happened.
Sometimes it's just you just got to do that. It's the tough love. It's like, okay, you're with us. You're the outcast. You're the nerd. We can't let you go back out in life saying those damn jokes.
You're saving your life in the process.
And we
That's
did,
awesome.
and it fixed him. He ended up being a great guy. So, man, where did we leave off at? Okay, John's house.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning of probably the worst moment in our history, because that's when everything that could go. It was the Murphy Law
Yeah.
era. If everything could go wrong, it did. One match that happened between me and Crash, it was our second time. The first one was put up. That was the one when I was set on fire.
Yeah.
Well, okay, let me really rephrase. Apparently fire likes to stick to me.
Yes.
So it's not really me being on fire, it's just there's fire and then there's no fire on what had fire, and now the fire is just on me.
Yeah.
So
This looks like a better place to be.
exactly. Yeah. It's a redhead. It's perfect. We match colors. But the second one was better because we had better spots in it that fooled a lot of people. We had taken what we felt what we were doing was trying to fool people at home, just like they do on regular TV.
Actually growing as performers instead of just people trying to do wrestling in a backyard.
Right. And just trying to pull off stunts that would make you think, holy shit, did it actually happen? And our favorite spot that we had was on the other side of the red truck that was parked by the shed. And at that time, we had all gotten together and built a ring out of wood.
I remember this.
Now, people will be like, well, that's nothing new. Well, hold on. There's more to this ring. There was barely any bounce in the middle. We had...
This was a wooden platform.
We built a deck.
Yes.
With this suggestion of a box, makeshift box with a bunch of bed springs in it to give a bounce. That was a suggestion. It never did that.
No.
Ever. So when someone got slammed, by
They
God...
didn't have to sell.
No, there's no selling. It was either splinters, because there's also really no padding on it, and it doesn't really give like a regular ring. But the noise is great.
It did give the very first slam.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I remember the wood pieces go boom and
That's
swing
true.
down. I'm like,
That's true. That was the one moment in the 06 history that I wanted to have the camera zoomed in and not catch that.
Nope, it was right on.
it didn't matter. It didn't matter because as soon as it happened, it left my mouth.
Exactly.
Like immediately.
Holy shit, he means it. Boom! He broke the ring already. And I was like, oh. I was just frustrated because everything was just going wrong.
This is when we brought in some new people. We completely forgot to mention Ogre Queen, so I have to stop here and bring back Ogre Queen.
Alright, so Ox decides in the process of the break he's going to change his name to, and he goes by that name of Hammer. Now, I didn't say anything, and at the same time, a name like that isn't, I mean, you really can't, I mean, you can make fun of it, it's just...
We already made fun of him enough.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, his persona itself was making fun of. The name didn't need to be touched. He came in, friggin' Colin Murphy, Sergeant Murphy, whatever. He came in,
AKA Johnny Rebel, the most
my God,
racist gimmick.
Jesus
He wore a
Christ,
fucking Rebel flag shirt
and carried a rebel flag, I
and
believe
carried
too.
a Rebel flag.
But he got beaten up by a girl.
He did.
I do
So
remember
that was great. He was new. Private Snowball showed up. Now that I tell people, he is the prime example where I tell people when it comes to backyard wrestling, if you go to a backyard wrestling event, wherever you're at, and you find it, and you might know the people, when you go, metaphorically, it's not like real, but metaphorically, your first visit, like you did, a foot-long line of cocaine. You're going to want more afterwards, and you're going to come back. And it happens to everybody. Now, Private Snowball wasn't Private Snowball to begin with. He was Mr. Cameraman. Thanks for coming and helping. By the middle of the event, he decided it's time to jump in.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew right then backyard wrestling is addictive, like cocaine. And so you got to be very
It's not
careful.
quite as destructive.
It's not as destructive, but
You
you
still
can
get hurt.
You can go to the hospital.
Yeah. As we'll get to in a minute.
Yeah, you can go to the hospital. There's been multitudes of people who've gone to the hospital. So this is actually almost fitting that this is being held on Memorial Day. Or close to it. So
So how the fuck did Ogre Queen get there?
Oh yeah. Okay,
Who
so
invited him?
Sweater Salesman.
This
There
guy.
was-
Let me visually describe this guy. This guy was about 6'2", about 250 pounds, no muscle, all flab and body hair, and I don't know, like. He must have been sheltered growing up because there's nothing legitimately wrong with him. He was just weird. Weird as shit. And he talked like this. He still does. And like, he would just come in and it was like, he was the first guy who got into it who didn't sell anything until he was actually hurt. And we have these golden moments captured on camera somewhere.
We do.
I think it was Killer Kitty. Like, busted, like, a fucking... It was just like a stick over his back, and he goes, ow! And he makes, like, this really sad, angry 3-year-old
No one
kid's
can
face.
see this. No one saw this. But if you want to picture the face Evan just made, watch Rocky Horror Picture Show. And, like, the Frankenfurter, that guy, I think, that's the face that he just made. So that's the face that the guy made when he got hit. So
Slightly angry, catty, coy, childish, frustrated face. And, like, with the continued blows, he'd just be like, stop it! And it was just so weird.
He was a LARPer.
Yeah. And that's when we found out that LARPers can't take bumps. Because I'm shooting for... Well, fuck it. I'll get to that in a minute. So, anyway, we had a really weird guy. What was his actual gimmick name?
I don't remember.
We kept calling him Ogre Queen.
Ogre Queen or Sweater Salesman, because the problem was that when he would wear... The farthest he went down when it came to wearing a shirt was a muscle tee.
Yeah.
And a wife beater, basically. But the problem was that even though he took all the other layers off, the amount of body hair made it seem like he still had a shirt on from a distance. Thus, the Sweater Salesman was born.
Could you imagine the fucking infusion of sweat coming out of all of those hairs?
Not really. There's a lot of people who didn't want to match because of that. But that wasn't too far long till A-Train started getting his ass handed to him in the locker room because of his body hair.
One last thing I have to mention about Ogre Queen is he would always brag about how he was like in judo and all this other stuff.
But he didn't show any of it.
And every time he got thrown, he didn't do the break fall. He never broke fall.
No.
So it's like, how the fuck? Because I've seen him in his gi before. I took a buddy to a jiu-jitsu class, and I was like, Carl. I forgot his name.
That's
I was
his
like,
name, yeah.
holy shit, Carl's here. And he was there. But the whole time he just walked around. But he had the belt and the gi and everything. He wasn't an instructor. So I'm like, did he just pay somebody? How did he get this? Anyway, so like he was like the worst. And that was when we knew that LARP friends could not be good wrestlers.
No, it's because the acting was okay. Let's explain Carl a little bit. Carl, as a LARPer, he has this problem. He has great concepts and ideas that could be played off, and when you look at the characters he plays in the hindsight, it actually makes sense, and it actually could probably be one badass character. The problem is his execution. He sucks horribly at execution. I guess whatever is in the head playing or what he's seeing is not actually what's happening.
And he has a voice that sounds like this at all times. He sounds like Homestar from fucking Homestar. I was made a cup of coffee.
It's a mixture between that and Bruce from Family Guy. Hey, everybody.
Yeah, good call. Bruce Homestar.
Maybe it's just that it's not that he can't think well; he just cannot think quickly.
Right.
We have other friends who are like that.
So that might be the problem. So he can come up with great ideas, but when the kind of times it does it, he can't keep up with what's going on.
Yeah, and then next thing you know, his characters are being killed, and he doesn't understand why. But so yeah, that was the downfall. My freaking pinky got dislocated.
Oh, I remember.
I remember that at
Oh,
because of Johnny Rebel.
It was like, this is exactly what happened. Oh shit!
Yeah,
I remember that we laughed so hard because you said that.
Oh shit! Because what happened? Okay, so what happened was he was in. No, he wasn't Johnny Rebel yet, was he? No, he was because he was barefoot and he had cut off shorts. He went for a spear. I was holding a extra large stop sign. He hit the sign by the way my hands were positioned, when he hit that sign, it had knocked my left pinky sideways to the point where it dangled.
Oh god!
And I had lifted it up and went, oh shit!
It was so.
And it's just dangling, and you hear GDD going, oh, did you see? Oh!
It was so loud.
And so I roll out of the ring, pissed off. I am pissed. Like, I don't feel the pain. Adrenaline, thank you, God, adrenaline. And the first thing, literally the first person that comes to my brain is Sabu.
Yeah, when he is a fucking bicep.
So I go straight to duct tape and I tape that son of a bitch to my ring finger.
Yes.
And I go back in there and I proceed to unleash hell upon Johnny Rebel with a stop sign to repay him as a receipt for his dumbassness.
That was so great.
Which he was replaced because that event was a practice for the Rock event that we had booked. And we were doing a practice run of the event that was supposed to be done there. So we were more professional because we had booked a ring through BWA and Rocky King. And we needed to go over what we had in store to make sure that we knew what we were doing. After that beating, Johnny Rebel never came back.
Yeah.
Because he had to be replaced with Chris Courageous. And I think someone else had to be replaced as well because we put in Horace as well. So after that, he didn't really come back.
And let me just make a note here real quick. For those of you who are nice enough to listen, who are not wrestling fans, don't know anything about it, back in the day in wrestling, people, if you were like, I want to be a wrestler, they would just beat you up for like weeks on end. They would really kick you and punch you because back then wrestling was still considered real. So you had to be tough. If you got into a bar fight, you had to be able to hold your own. Because if you were a wrestler and you got into a bar fight and you lost, that's your fucking job. So this was one day this kid got the shit kicked out of him, as opposed to the professional wrestlers who got their asses kicked daily for weeks.
Yeah.
So just putting that out there.
Yeah, because promoters back in the 70s would actually tell their wrestlers to go out to bars and pick fights.
Yeah, the heels.
So
that was how they got them out.
So that people at home, one, they're keeping kayfabe alive. And two, it solidifies the gimmick that they're going out and doing. And it makes people at home go, you don't want to fuck with this man. He will break your nose with one punch.
Exactly.
Even though he's got an open hand punch when we see him in a ring.
Right.
There's a big difference, but not to us.
Yeah.
Right.
And usually we call that a shoot. If you get hurt, just know that you're going to get a receipt. And you're going to get it back. You're going to get it back.
A potato in the receipt.
We might not know how, but it's going to happen. And basically me just waylaying him, I think, with a stop sign, but then at the same time because I don't think
you gave him a whole filing cabinet full of receipts.
I did. I fucking did. That was.
I'm here with the IRS. We're gonna do an audit. I hope you got all your receipts.
Way to bring IRS in from the fucking WWE.
Oh yeah.
So,
that's a double punch.
Because I think it went. No, I think it was. I started with the thing, but I don't think the camera caught it because I don't know if he didn't really say it that long or say it that loud for the camera to catch it on the other side of the ring because we're towards the back. But I had switched from the stop sign to a kendo stick,
Man,
and I believe to slave whip him like I owned him. I whipped him like I owned him. And I don't think the camera caught it, but he had his hand up. He's in a fetal position. And he's like, stop. And I'm like, no. So, because I'm like, one, you've pissed me off, and two, you pissed off my gimmick. Now, let me explain my gimmick. My gimmick is named Mr. Hardcore.
How have we not introduced this? I'm so sorry.
So, my gimmick's named Mr. Hardcore. Now, the premise of the gimmick is it actually goes off of South Park. For those who don't know me, I am a ginger. And gingers don't have souls. Thank you, South Park. So, when Chris Higgins and Jamie Moore sold their souls, how I explain it is, a ginger who can walk around and be active within society and not have a soul is because he lives on electrical pulses that are going through his body to his brain. And it's an empty vessel. It's like a robot. But once he says, I'll sell my soul, It's an empty vessel for a demon to take over and harness, and it's his shell now. So that's basically what it is. Mr. Hardcore is a demon inside of a human body that's possessed. I haven't decided which one, but it's two that I'm thinking of, which would probably cause a lot of chaos in hell in general, which is either Leviathan or Samael.
This is legitimate angel stuff,
Yeah.
by the way.
So, because I want, got to be believable. The name is Mr. Hardcore. Now, that's two different reasons. One, I'm a first degree black belt in Taekwondo. That in the organization I'm part of, once you get your first black belt, you automatically get the title of Mister. So that automatically goes there. Hardcore is the style of matches that I do, but it's not actually the reason why it is hardcore. It's because every problem that this gimmick sees, he basically gets through it hardcore means.
Yes.
He doesn't always rely on weapons. He doesn't have to. It's his philosophy and his sight of the world. And everything he takes upon, he does it in his hardcore motion and making sure that it gets done to its fullest effect. People get confused with that, and they want to throw in porn jokes and porn parodies and stuff like that. And that's cool. Go right ahead, because I'm about to show you exactly how hardcore I can get.
Yeah.
Because of the offenders, my wit increased so quickly.
We have that effect.
That if you literally watched my shit right now, you would be blown away. Because I don't let anyone get a word in edgewise. I'm destroying them left and right. And
Speaking of which, I have to bring in a story now. Shane and I have been friends for a fucking long time, okay?
You're going to tell this fucking story that makes me feel bad these days.
Yes, I sure am. I sure am.
It's the equivalent of bringing out the naked baby pictures.
So this like Chris just mentioned, when you hang out with us, by proxy, your wit improves. Because you don't have a choice.
No.
Well, when I was a little fat, quiet guy, Shane and our other buddy, Frank, picked on me relentlessly. Relentlessly. It was like if you happened to be a small child who lived near a kung fu master, you got your ass kicked over and over again.
All the time.
But they're doing it for your own good. Well, I didn't see that at the time. So I, at school one day, walked up to Shane and Frank, and I was like, guys, hey.
I need to talk to you guys. And he took us to the side.
Take it away. Take it away.
Yeah, so he takes us to the side. He's like, guys, I'd really appreciate it if you wouldn't pick on me anymore. And of course, me and Frank look at each other and we just go, and we just laugh. And then we make fun of him for saying that.
Yep. I should have known better.
And I'll tell you, like, because I've progressed in my life.
All of us have.
And, like, I was like, you know, if I was the same way now as I was then, I would have been like, no one's ever done that before. That's actually kind of awesome that he just took us to the side and asked him not to pick on me anymore. I'm still going to do it, but I'm going to let him know that there's no hard feelings. I wish I at least did that part.
Yeah,
you know? But I was an asshole back then.
Now this is friendly kidding.
No.
I respect you because you were man enough to ask stupidly.
That's exactly what it was.
He was so honest and straightforward. I'd really appreciate it if you stopped making fun of me. I was like, I should have did it. Because that was a really good
I was
way of
ahead
doing
of my
it.
time. What can
You
I say?
were.
But I'm thankful that they didn't, because in the absolute verbal beatdown torture sessions that were my life for school, I became ultra witty, which is why I fire off puns, why I think of things not as fast as Shane, mind you, but still pretty quick. And I figured out the reason why, because when you're in your early teens, and I would say even into most of your 20s, you don't have compassion. You just have angst. All you have is angst. And then as that leaves your body, it becomes full of compassion because you get a greater worldview, which only experience can bring. So now, like, we don't do the same things that we used to. As Stick mentioned on a previous podcast, we don't laugh when people drop their babies anymore. We see if they're okay.
Then when they walk away, we chuckle.
No, I just
Make sure it's
chuckle.
all right for us.
Yeah, but I still chuckle.
Right.
That being said, I still laugh my ass off anytime somebody falls down immediately.